Like it was almost like Pandora's box had opened for me. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Finding Me in Christ podcast. I'm Cece, and I'll be detailing my journey on finding me in Christ. I'll be detailing the ups and the downs and the experiences I've had while seeking Christ. So, just to begin, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and hit this post notification bell to be notified when I post a new episode. So, let's get started. Um, okay. I'm going to start by talking about when I first started this journey of seeking Christ, um, and how it kind of inverted to me finding myself as well. So I would say I started seeking Christ fully about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's been about like 4 years actually. I was in Hawaii. My husband was stationed in Hawaii at the time, so we were there, and I've actually, I actually really didn't start to really see Christ until probably like a year before we were getting ready to move. And the way that I came into my journey of seeking Christ was pretty ironic. And I say ironic because, just to give you guys a little fun fact, I am a avid reader. Like, I love to read. Like, I've read so many books. It doesn't make any sense, but I love to read. Um, and I started my journey by reading this book by one of my favorite authors. Her name is Edwina Ford. So if you guys have a Kindle or you just like to read, I'll say go check her out. I'll put her information in there as well. But it was one of her books that she wrote. It's called Stealing the Pastor's Daughter. It's such a good book. But anyways, me being an avid reader, like I was just going through like my catalog and also looking for new books to read. And um, I just kept seeing that book. And like at first I was like, I'm not going to read it because it's not that it didn't look appealing to me. It's just like, I don't know. It was like I had like a rebellious spirit at the time. It was like, I'm not about to read that book. Like I didn't even read the description. I just looked at it and was like, I'm not about to read that book. And I was just like, I'm gonna go read something else. But it was like every single time I would go onto my Kindle and I look at my catalogs and I get ready to read another book, that book just kept showing up. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, it just literally just kept showing up. And I'm just like, okay. Until I just finally got enough of it. And I was just like, you know what? I couldn't let go of that nagging feeling of me needing to read that book. So I just ended up reading it. And when I did, it was like I was opened up to a whole nother world. Like, I started to really question everything that I had learned. And if you when I read the description of the book, it had a lot of biblical truths in it. And I always thought that I had a connection with God, although it wasn't as strong. I felt like I did have a connection with him, or I have a connection with him. Um, so when I read that book, and like I've never read my Bible like front to back. I've read a couple verses here and there. So when I came across that book and I started seeing like stories that were from the Bible, but it was intertwined with her characters so well. So it made it like very interesting. It made you want to dive deeper. It made you want to learn more. Um, so it was like after I read that book, I actually picked up my Bible after that, and I just had so many questions. Like it was almost like Pandora's box had opened for me. Like I had so many questions on um, why these characters like sounded so familiar, and um, how they were in a sense, what's the word? How they kind of played on the people of the Bible, and it even made me. That book even made me want to research my family history and wanting to know where I came from. And it was like as I was reading more and more of the Bible, like I'm not gonna lie to you, it was hard for me at first because I was like scared of all of this new information that I was intaking, and just how it all intertwined with the world together. Like it was a lot. It was frightening for me. It was like a lot. It was a lot of information I was intaking, and it became overwhelming. And at first, it was like I felt like I was going crazy for a second, because it's like I had to unlearn everything that I was taught as not being factual, and having to open and expand my mind to things that were actual facts and that were truths of the Bible and of the world and who I am in Christ. So I'll just say, starting out, at least like the first year probably had to be the hardest. Like and I say the hardest because I'm an overly emotional person. So when I was like getting hit with all these different truths, it was like I was being punched all over my body. Like, you get a hit, you get a hit. Like, that's how I felt. Like it was like I was being punched all over my body, and I couldn't stand up for nothing. It was like I felt shame, I felt guilt, I felt anger. I even felt sadness when I first was coming into this journey. And that was just because of reading the Bible for myself and really understanding who the Bible was talking about, who the Most High people is. And I'm just gonna say I believe it's people of color. Just gonna put that out there so y'all know who I believe is the Most High's people. But it was just, and it was like I was feeling all these emotions, because if you look back on the people of color history, like all the cruelty that was done to us, and then when I read the Bible, it's like, oh, this kind of makes sense. Like, this kind of makes me wonder, and just it just had me feeling all types of emotions. And then it started to get good after that. Like, I started to feel peace, and I started to feel a little bit of joy and happiness. And that's just because after a while, I realized that I couldn't hold on to all of that anger and that sadness that I had, because that's not the way that the Most High wanted me to operate. Like, although it was hard, you know, finding out these truths, it was also a blessing, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I was not privy to. So, after that, after that, everything became smooth sailing for me in a sense when it came to like connecting with God. Like I wasn't as consistent still, but I was still doing research. Like I wanted to really research and dive into everything that I was learning just to make sure that I wasn't taking in anybody else's opinions and that I was understanding stuff for myself. And then that's when the pandemic happened and everybody was at home, shut out from the world, and I actually enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed that time because I mean, my husband was home. Um, we had I had more time to really dive deeper into the Bible, and I felt like I leaned more on the Most High during that time more than anything, and it brought me closer to Him. So here we are, fast forwarding to now, and let me tell you, it has not been an easy walk. I still struggle daily on my journey of finding me in Christ, but He is proving to me that I can trust Him always and that I can continue to push forward because He's going to continue to pull me forward. No matter how many times I backtrack, because I have backtracked a couple times, not gonna lie, but no matter how many times I backtrack or I lose focus or if I just lose hope for a little bit or my faith is down, He's always going to steer me back because I know that He has a bigger purpose for me, and I'm sure He has a bigger purpose for whoever is listening to this and they're starting their journey of seeking Christ and finding themselves through Christ. But for those who have not are not necessarily on that journey but are looking for ways to start, I'll give you a couple tips. Um, Number one, pray. Always stay prayed up. Pray over yourself, pray over your family, pray over your household, pray over your kids if you have them, pray over your significant other. Um, Also, make sure you stay in the Word so that you will be able to know what God sounds like for yourself. Not what you sound like, what your friends sound like, or your pastor, or anybody else sound like. You would know for you what God sounds like. And you would know how to operate in order to please Him. So stay in your scriptures. Don't compare your journey to other people because it's not the same. Your journey is not going to be the same as everybody else. It's always going to be different. You know, we all have to carry our cross, but it's not going to be the same circumstances. So don't feel bad if somebody is on the same journey of seeking Christ and they're getting blessed and you over here still struggling and you crying out like, God, you know, when it's my turn, like, don't do that because it's not going to do anything but make you depressed, make you sad, and even make you make you upset with God because you feel like He's not listening or He's taking His time. But that's one thing you also need to understand. It's always going to be in God's timing. It's not going to be when we want it. So I'll say, yeah, don't compare yourself. Try to be joyous. Be happy. There's so much hate and just evilness in the world. Like, just spread your light. Be love. Be happy. Um, and also forgive. That's another big one. Forgive and all those people who may have hurt you or just anybody, just forgive them. Not even for them, but for yourself. Like, don't you want to let go of that hurt, that anger? Like, you can do that. Just forgive and let go and let God. So, and the very most number one thing is to keep your faith. Like, that is the most important thing, is to keep your faith. So, that is it for episode 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Peace.